Hi everyone. Now, lots of questions about CDC. Just the reason being, I was talking about in a recent video about the difference between domestic and wild and the quality and so on. Now, this is wild duck CDC, really full, lots of fibre, very dense. Now, and the other reason too as well, it makes good CDC, these are coming from a mature bird, a bird that's obviously maybe a year or two or more old, so the feathers are going to be a better quality. Now the difference, the domestic duck, to give an idea, I mean they're bred for their meat, not for the feathers, so the bird could be 2 or 3 months old or less. If it gets to a certain weight, obviously the duck is then used for its meat rather than its feathers. So the feathers are not going to be the best quality. So you shouldn't expect the quality that you would get, like in say a bird, even a domestic bird that's a year or so old, because the feathers are, and the bird's a bit more mature and the feathers are in better condition. So that's the reason that these are feathers that are coming from both wild and domestic, but domestic duck that are are a few years old. So that hence the feather quality is far better. So that's probably the main reason why you get difference in quality, especially when the difference between, say, the stuff I bought from China, which was obviously coming from birds that was bred especially for the meat, not for the feathers. So simple as that. Now the other question I get asked was about Caddis flies, CDC Caddis fly, especially parachute. What's the easiest and quickest? CDC parachute fly, you could basically tie, and this is probably one here, I'll zoom in a wee bit so you can actually see it. Now this one, they're almost through a bag or two, and I found these are ones that I tied for a friend who wanted like a trailing shuck, or like it could be, there's a fly called the ECcus Emerger. I recently got asked a question about that as well, and I think it was about CDC as well. Can you mix? You can, but this is a trailing shuck, or having something like this for some reason works, especially even in the Caddis. Probably give the impression of sort of, because the legs on Caddis are quite long, has a wee bit of colour and gives the impression of a Shuckers obviously. But this is a Coq de Leon fibre, and this is like a fiery ginger type colour that I use, which is on this one. And I've actually trimmed the CDC in this just to get a kind of profile or a shape. You don't need to do that. I must have been messing about, but anyway, I'm always messing about. I've actually got other ones here. I mean, this is a bit of a disaster. Like, I love the shape of the wing. Whether it was like a parachute. This is flies I keep in a jar, and I always get back to them because you've got to experiment. You've got to have mistakes to tie, and this is kind of a mistake. It's like a wind a hackle, we pull it over to get it to lay back. This here would work fine because this would draw back in the water. The legs would open out, give it a bit of movement. So not all it's a mistake, but there's something that you could use. And when you design flies or you're working with materials to make them or to tie better, you're going to experiment, and that's the idea of your tying flies. So, but anyway, I'm going to quickly tie. Well, I'll tie the chocolate. There's a few flies I could tie here. I'll do it's a parachute fly anyway. That's the main thing. I'll put it in the vise a wee bit straighter. There we are. I think I'll tie the chocolate drop version this one. I'll do this one, seeing it's sitting. Just to give an idea. It's just a quick tying, and a wee talk about the CDC obviously. So I'm going to be using the Dk.Brown. This is the Unithread and 8.0. Hook choice, up to yourself. I like, these are the Ultimate Dry. This is the black nickel version, size 14, from F.Mill. You start at the eye. I'm just going to work my way down. Now I'm going to tie the tail in the way down, it's much easier. Now I've got cotyledon fibre. Now you could use just brown fibre, or I've got some fibre left here. As I say, this is a fiery ginger cotyledon from whiting, which adds just a bit of colour. I want it light enough that it's you can see it. Now it could be as long as short as you like. It's just a tail. It was a friend that wanted tails on. He catches fish with them. So I'm just going to put enough over the back to give the impression of a shuck. Sometimes it's better to catch that on the way down. Just going to come under here just to open the fibres a wee touch at the back. And then come over with a turn. Trim this away. Obviously to go with the chocolate brown, I've got a brown dry, this is the it's the ultra dry dub from F.Mill. It's just a brown. It's a nice fibre to use. Now Caddis bodies are quite thick, so don't be shy. Just going to lightly dub it on, slide it up, and then get my anchor point so that by doing a turn you get a point where the dubbing's caught to the shank, so then you can tighten to that. Now you can quickly run up to about two-thirds of the way anyway, and you can come back through. You can build the body up different ways, so you get a nice shape. All I'm doing is adding the dubbing. I've got a ball of dubbing at the back. I'm just feeding it when I need it. Get a nice shape, take away what I don't want, stroke back, trim it into a sort of nice shape, a taper. Just a light cut over. Spend a wee bit more time. What's your tail? You have fibre that's long, trim away. There we are. Now I've got this is the one I'm using. It's called the well, it's obviously Premier Island Supplies, but this is the dark chocolate brown. They're large feathers, so they are. Now I'm actually going to use 3. I'm just going to lay one on top of the other. Obviously, but the same size makes it easier. Just going to lay one on, so say there's one on top of the other, ends lined up. Just pull the fibre in. The Caddis length, just want it just by the bend of the hook here, or halfway into the tail in this case. So once we've got the length we like on the top, a couple of turns now, I forgot to make sure you wax your thread, and then really tighten up. Really tighten up, because you want it strong. Now you could trim the CDC like I did this one, I trimmed it. This could just be ends. Sometimes I keep the cut ends and use them. Is it? No, it's just the tips. Sometimes I like, if I'm not getting the way I shape I like, I sometimes trim them, but most times, in this case, this is fine. That is okay. Now, Sunburst. This is a tactical microflash and Sunburst. Just adding a wee touch to this. It's usually a seals fur I would use. I'm just going to add some of the tactical dubbing. Just at the back here. Lift this up. Now you see how much space I have. Got lots there. Wax your thread. Now I'm going to be using a dyed fiery brown. This is just it's a genetic neck I have. Don't know if you can see it there. Just the made a ginger, I added a fiery brown dye to it. Now the legs can be as long and short. CDC or parachutes, sometimes a long leg actually sits better. So I've got one of the feathers. I'm just going to. That's the ice cream van. It's actually blowing. It's about 20-25 mile an hour winds, and it's raining. And obviously we're in winter. And we've got an ice cream van in Scotland. So anyway, strip away the fluff at the base. Then you leave a tiny bit of the stem to tie it on. or enough that you can catch it. What I normally do is lift the waist of the CDC up. There's the stem, just catch it on the side. You want a good 4 or 5 turns, and then you want to post the hackle and the CDC. So you're taking your thread up, and then you're coming back down a good mill or two. You want your thread in front of the wing, or in front of the CDC. And then it's just a matter of then winding down one turn under the other. So as you take it up, you bring it back down, and then again it could be as many turns as you feel you like. So there's a good 4 or 5 turns there. So what I basically do is just lift these fibres up. There's the hackle point. Usually I like to hold it, come straight up with my fingers, and then you want to put in a good half dozen turns. There, I'll get another fly out of this tip of this hackle. And then you basically, some more of the dubbing, just to tidy that area up. Just lightly does it. First thing I do is, I'm going to shoot the ice cream van, but anyway, take a thread down to the eye, and then come back up. Oops. Jeez. He's desperate to sell his ice cream today. Work our way up, and then work our way thread back through towards the eye. And then keep your thread tight. Always keep your thread tight. A wee bit of varnish on my thread. And then we can finish and basically tidy things up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Trim away. And then we can bring down our hackle. Just bring it out where it should be. And then we can trim this. So leave it a good couple of mil or more. You cut it to suit yourself. Use it as a sighter. And that's basically the easiest way to tie a parachute using the CDC, I would think. You can do this with your deer hair. You can do it with any fibre, whether it be synthetic or even, as I say, deer hair. And you can trim the CDC if you want. It's an idea. I'll show you. You can put a slight, cut the edge off it, give it a taper in the top. It gives it a nicer shape if you want. And there we are. Now I like to, you will catch the odd fibre. There's the odd fibre there. You can trim them out, trim the body a wee bit better, so it sits nice and flat. I mean, this is good enough that you can skate this fly. This fly will skate. This will get drawn back, and as you pull it, and as I say, don't be shy with the length of the hackle. It will work with the fly. Caddis fly especially, have got quite long legs. So anyway, well that's it. That's the chocolate drop, and how to quickly tie a parachute fly using the CDC.